Welcome everyone to today's seminar from the Zerubbabel Mosu Foundation. Today, our speaker will be telling us about how to apply for admission into US universities. It will be more like a personal story, how he did it. I know most of us are more inclined to apply into UK universities. Maybe it's easier, to apply because the system is peculiar with what we've got in Nigeria, because most of our educational system is aligned with the British education system as well. So that makes it easier to apply to UK universities and also even the visa application process. But today, Bosun will be teaching us, the best way to go into US universities, and possibly that will expose us to maybe the prejudice we might have been having on US universities. Just a little introduction of the speaker. The speaker is already here with us, who is Bosun Roy-Layinde. He holds bachelor's degree in chemical engineering from the University of Lagos. One unique thing about Bosun is he graduated with a final CGPA of 4.97 out of 5.0, which means it is possible he scored A in all the courses he took during that degree program. And also, he was among the 3 best graduating students from the University of Lagos in 2007. So 3 of them tagged along, with the same CGPA, which is a very, very great achievement. And because of that, academic excellence also, wins, several accolades. So he received several scholarships because of that excellent performance. We know sometimes, or these days, people say who education helps. Some of us still know education still helps. For some of us, we are testimonies to what education or academic excellence can do. So don't be discouraged. For those of them who want quick money that comes overnight, yes, they can have that, but still follow that your academic excellence route, because innovation still rules the world. Why America still rules the world is because of innovation, academic excellence, and research, and not because of those who want to make billions in 24 hours. Such doesn't thrive well, in a good environment. So currently, Bosun is doing a PhD in chemical engineering at the University of Michigan. I just had a quick search on him online and discovered he has already published 2 papers, within this period of his PhD, which is really very fantastic. Congratulations, Bosun, for your online presence as well, So apart from doing the PhD, which is involved in so many research, design, experimentation, failure, and all of those, he also enjoys playing football, as we call it in England. But when you say soccer, it means something in the United States. So I don't know whether that is the type Bosun also enjoys.
It's the same thing, actually. It's just nomenclatural difference.
No. In the United States, when you say people play football or soccer, it's actually that type that people hit their head on the floor,
Yeah. So the football is for people in Nigeria, soccer is for people in the US. But go ahead.
So for the one that originated in England, that is football. So good to know you enjoy that. So many of us do as well, though, in recent time, I'm not that very big fan of football. But all the same, we all enjoy football. It brings unity and also, helps us to exercise ourselves and meet others, network among the team members. So thank you, Bosun, for joining us for this presentation today. And I hope we all enjoy it. I know so many people who signed up to this seminar today said, yes, they are currently applying for admission into US universities. So because of that, I expect so many questions towards the end from them so that we can all interact with the speaker and also get contributions from the audience. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone who has joined. And also thank you the speaker. And thank you Zeribe, who is also the founder of Zeribe Nwosu Foundation, for giving us this opportunity to meet and also interact. So I'm going to stop sharing, Bosun. In case you've got slides, you can then take on and go ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I hope you all can hear me clearly. And, I'm going to share my screen now, and I'm going to start my presentation. So, quick one. I hope everyone can see my screen, if that is correct.
Yes, I can see that. Go ahead,
Absolutely.
please.
Okay. All right, sounds good. I will talk a little bit about myself later in comments, but the topic is how to apply for admissions into United States universities. And I'll be talking about myself a little bit, but I'll be giving a general framework, and I'll be talking about a lot of my friends, because the thing that discourages people is, when you see me talking, for example, you'll be like, it's easy for you because you finished with the first class and it's easy to get a scholarship and whatnot, but it's not. I'm not the only one here. I have a lot of friends here, different schools, fundings. They didn't even finish with the first class. So you just, if there's one thing you need to take home today, is that there are numerous opportunities out there for everyone. All you have to do is find it. So in the United States, the general slogan or the slang that we use is, there is a school for everybody. It might not be MIT, it might not be Stanford or something, but there is a school for everybody. So today, just a little overview of what I'm going to talk about today. I'll give like some fundamental preparatory steps and things to consider in selecting schools, requirements for applications, the different funding. And I'll just touch on how to adapt when you get here. I'd just like to give like a personal perspective, because a few years, I was just like a lot of you. I wasn't entirely sure where I was going to go for my graduate studies, and I went for NYC. And NYC was a time of reflection for me. I thought about things I wanted to do after graduation, started preparing for, the universities outside of Nigeria. And so it's perfectly fine if you are confused and all. Just be ready to put in the work and be ready to stay informed, because if you are getting a scholarship, it's worth thousands of dollars. And you have to do some work from your end. 1 second. Yeah, so you have to do some work from your end. And, you just have to put in the work, basically. You $20,000, $30,000. You can't just get that by sleeping or by resting. So the first things here is you need to know what you want to study. My job might be chemical and biomedical engineering. So these are things that you need to know. You need to know what you want to study. And also, you need to start getting things right by surfing the websites of like the schools you want to apply to, what is required of them. I'm going to touch on this a lot more in like the slides to come. So these are just like highlights of what I'm going to talk about. And also, you need to start assembling a CV. You need to start thinking of everything you've done, during your undergrads or outside your undergraduate study, the groups you've joined, the volunteering services you've done, probably, the projects you've worked on that were successful or even not successful, just to give a professional, description of you and your achievements. And sometimes some schools will require a research proposal from you. Like me now, all the schools I applied to didn't require this from me. And the last one is to attend workshops. Attend, activities that would inform you of things that are out there, how to apply to the United States. And for example, I attended like this US education back in the embassy when I was in Lagos. And there are different seminars, different conferences that you can just attend, listen in, hear people talk, because you can pick one or two things that you didn't even know before. So now, factors to consider. Now, when you're trying to apply to a school, I'm sure there are over 2,000, 3,000 schools in the United States. You need to try to rank the schools, based on reputation, and you need to consider, some schools based on your, academic achievements. For example, now, if you don't have like the best CGPAs, or you don't have like the best, experiences, it only makes sense for you to bring the school ranking just a little bit. You don't need to start applying for schools like Stanford or something. It only makes sense for you to bring the ranking a little bit. And one way to surf the internet to find school rankings, you can use like US World News. You can search for your program that you want to study. Look at the schools, the top 200 schools, top 300 schools. There are so many schools. You would see probably school number 70, chemical engineering, might be University of Dayton that you've never heard of. And if you browse the school's website, you see they have fundings for people, for international students and whatnot. So you need to first streamline the schools you are looking at. And also, when you're applying to schools in the United States, you pay application fees. It's not just only about applying. When you're about to apply, you pay, fees, probably like $50 or something. But I'm still going to explain some of these things in full in the coming slides. The next few things also is funding. You have to, in my personal opinion, I'm not like from a rich family. My family isn't rich, and my family couldn't afford to pay $20,000 school fees every semester. It's not possible. So you have to look out for, all of these fundings, and there are different types of fundings, and I'm going to explain that in full because I have a couple of, description to like funding and whatnot. And also you need to check out international students. For example, someone sent me an email like a while back. The person was just browsing the website of University of Michigan, and the person saw me, and the person sent me an email, and it was like, I'm trying to apply to this school, and I'm looking at this professor, and what do you think? And I'm in the school. I know things that are happening. I have the most recent information, and I was like, okay, this professor is old and retiring, doesn't have the funds, but I know this professor that has a lot of funds and is looking for students actually. And I, gave him the email of the professor he was looking for. And that was how, the person started admission process easier, So if you are browsing like a school website and whatnot, it's important to look out for like international students as well, just like you. And you can reach out to them, ask questions. They've done it, they've been there. They probably have recent news, and they'll give you insights, in what is happening. So also, the last thing is also where the graduate, students go. Personally, I don't really lay like so much emphasis on this because it's the United States. Most times, once you finish from a like reputable universities in the United States, you end up in great places if you can find your way. And I know we are Nigerians, we are like the biggest hustlers out there. So I don't really lay too much emphasis on like where this happens. So going deep into selecting schools, like I said, you need to know what you're looking for. You need to have schools of interest. And also, when you're browsing the school websites, there are some programs that will tell you that, we don't give admissions to students unless a professor has, accepted you. So then you need to start emailing professors. You need to reach out to professors. For example, you need to get funded by a professor before the school can accept you. And if that is required from the school you're applying to, then you might be applying to the school's program and also reaching out to professors, which is very important. You need to sell yourself to those professors. And like I've mentioned this before about the international student, experience. And I'll use myself, as an example here. When I was applying to the programs, I felt like my, academic background was strong. So what I did was I, streamlined a couple of universities that are, up there. For example, Stanford, University of Michigan, Caltech and whatnot. And I, used like a framework for, ambitious, moderate, and safety schools. So for ambitious schools, I applied to MIT and Stanford. And for moderate schools, for my, academic backgrounds that I, felt like I was gonna gain admission to, I applied to University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, and Georgia Tech. And I did safety schools that, regardless if anything happens, worse happens, there are these schools that I know that for sure, I should get admission into. So I did, about 6 to 7 applications. I did like 2 ambitious schools, 3 moderate schools, and 2 safety schools. And, like for the ambitious schools, I didn't get into the ambitious schools because, they're ambitious for a reason. There's a probability you might get in or not. But for the moderate schools, I got into 2 out of the 3 moderate schools and safety schools for sure. So I would encourage you, like, if you are doing this, you should, you should think about using this same framework. Don't just put all your eggs in one basket and say, these are the schools that I'm applying to. The second one is the admission requirements. In my personal opinion, I feel like the statement of purpose is the most important thing for your admission. This involves you selling yourself. So basically, in the statement of purpose, you need to have a storyline. The first thing is, what motivates you? What motivates you? Like, why did you study accountancy in your undergrad? Why did you study mechanical engineering in your undergrad? So that's the meaning of motivation. And also the next one is, what have I achieved with, that motivation? It involves storylines like, with this, I've been able to get like a BSc in mechanical engineering. I finished with a first class, I finished with a 2-1, or, I was, what's it called? I got this scholarship, I got these awards. So what have you achieved with this? And the third one is, who are you beyond your academics? What have you done outside of school? Like president of this club, you are the captain of this football team. Things that would sell like your leadership qualities, that would sell things beyond your schoolwork. And then the last one is, when you get this funding, when you get the scholarship, what are you going to do with it? And that has to do with, okay, when I get this scholarship and I get like a PhD in this program or a master's in this program, I want to have a startup company that solves this problem, or I want to be a professor in this university, or I want to do research in the industry. So you just need to have this framework. You need to sell yourself. So basically, it's just like a storyline. If you're thinking of a movie with superheroes and you're trying to sell it, are you going to sell the movie as Suicide Squad, or are you going to sell the movie as Avengers? Because I know what I'm going to sell the movie as for sure. So the second thing is standardized tests. Now, when we talk about standardized tests, it has to do with you writing GRE or GMAT, or you writing some tests for English proficiency. That's the TOEFL or IELTS. Now, one thing about the United States is a lot of schools are doing away with these standardized tests because of the bias. So you need to check if the school you're applying to would require some of these standardized tests. And if you're the kind of person that don't want to take GRE or GMAT or something, then you need to apply to schools that don't require this GRE or GMAT. But if you are taking the exams, one takeaway here is you should actually study for the exams. A lot of people make mistakes. They just go answer questions, do problems online. It doesn't work that way. There are tricks to these things. You only know those tricks when you read, when you go through the materials. So if you are going to take these standardized tests, you need to actually really study, read the materials. You find out some tricks that will help you get good scores. So the better the scores, the better your chances as well, And also, the next thing is your letter of recommendation. Now, when we talk about letter of recommendation, this is like a formal document that, it validates your work, it validates your skills, it validates your academic performance, and it can be from, your professors or the place you've worked in. So most times, the 3 letters of recommendations can be from your professors, or the 3 of them, or 2 can be from your professors and 1 from like a company that you've worked in. But one thing is you need to find people that can speak well of you, someone that can corroborate all the things you've said about yourself. And one trick is, for example, you can write the letter of recommendation yourself and, talk to the professor, give the professor like the framework that you have already and let him just make some edits and submit, that's one trick. And the last one, that will be required is your transcript. This is a very simple one. You can apply for your transcript even from tomorrow because some universities will take time before you get your transcript. Some might take 2 months, 3 months before you get it. So you don't want trivial things like this to hold you down. So you can apply for your transcript right from now. So when we talk about applications in general and interviews, you need to put into consideration the number of applications you're submitting because they require money. So you just don't start applying to different schools. You need to think about the schools you're applying to. And it ranges from $50 to $100. And $100 is like 50,000 naira. That's not small money. So you need to apply to schools that, it makes sense. And there are ways around this application fees. There are sometimes you can write an email to like a graduate coordinator of a school and tell them, explain your situation that you are not financially buoyant to pay for these fees if they have waivers for you. And I'm sure there are many schools that have programs that can give you waivers such that you won't even pay application fees. So, but you just need to know that they're out there, you need to put yourself out there to find some of these applications, some of these waivers rather. The next thing is to please keep to deadline. Sometimes you can submit your application after the deadline, but they might not consider it. So if they tell you the deadline is November 1st, please submit the application before November 1st. If you submit November 2nd, it might go through, but then at the back of your mind, you think that you've submitted, but they're not even going to get it. It just, filters it and takes it away. So just submit everything you need to do before the deadline, which is very important. And also, if you get scheduled for interviews, there are some programs that would, they want to know you in person. If you get scheduled for interviews, the least you can do is to prepare for that interview. Read about the research lab if it's from a professor, or if it's from the graduate coordinator, read about the school, prepare your answers, read some things online, that help you prep for the interview. Because sometimes the interview might be the one that will determine your admission at the end of the day. So now the next thing I would like to buttress is also funding. Now, a lot of misconception about the funding in the United States. A lot of people say scholarship, but in America, most times you don't get scholarships. So when we say scholarship means a grant or a payment that is made to support a student's education. It is either awarded based on like your academic achievements or your leadership achievements or some other achievements. But in America, one thing that we talk about is assistantship. Now, assistantship is a little, different from scholarship. Assistantship is like a paid academic appointment that is made to a graduate student. So in such case, they are paying you to render some services. It can be a teaching assistantship where you probably be teaching part-time, or you be grading scripts, or be setting assignments and whatnot, be helping a professor, or it can be a research assistantship where you'll be in the lab doing research, and a professor will be funding your tuition fees and whatnot. So, this type of fundings might be limited and it might be partial. So you need to, start looking out for things like that. And like I said, it can be, research assistantship, which is from the lab or from the department itself. And for other fellowships, probably you're trying to look at, scholarships in itself, maybe in the United States or maybe in the UK or something. You need to start exploring, fellowships. You need to start exploring scholarships outside. And these scholarships might be, things like PTDF, maybe Shell scholarships and all those kind of things. So those ones will be the ones paying your tuition, probably for your master's, But if you want to get it from the school directly, sometimes it is assistantship. You'll be doing your master's, but you'll also be working in a lab, such that the professor in that lab is going to be paying the school fees for your master's, and is going to be giving you, token every month for you to, pay your bills and for you to survive on, like stipends. And like I said, you need to apply on time for them to consider you for all of these things. And once you are on assistantship here in the United States, most times you don't have time to do additional student work. Number one, the visa you'll be on, the F1 visa, you won't be able to work outside of school. And even in school, you won't have the time to start doing additional work. So you'll be living on the stipends that the professor gives you every month. And to be honest, sometimes the stipends are not, they are actually sufficient. Probably getting $1,500 every month, $2,000 every month. It is sufficient enough if you know how to manage your money. So the last thing that I'm going to highlight, I'm not talk about this so much, is adapting in the United States. This has to do with, you getting the admission even in general. And, I feel like this is going to be a topic for another time for people that just, that have admission, but I'll just give my experience. One thing is there was a bit of culture shock, and there was a little bit of difference when I got here in adapting. I was used to, I wasn't used to emailing professors. I wasn't used to reaching out to professors, and but here I found out that you can reach out to professors one-on-one. They're willing to talk to you, willing to do things with you, willing to help you. You can even move your assignments if you can, meet the deadline and all of those kind of things. And, you have a lot of registrations to do as an international student. But I feel like in the next coming months, for people that will get admissions into the United States, these are things that we can chat about in full. So lastly, a lot of you submitted so many questions, and I won't be able to answer all of these questions, but I've picked some questions, that I'm going to just highlight, and I'll give chance to people on this call to ask questions. So now the first question from, somebody was, how important is a letter of recommendation from previous group? I would encourage, if you are putting people that you've worked with on your SOP, you try to get them to write a letter of recommendation for you. And if you put that, you worked on this project in this company, let's say in Chevron, I worked on this project, and I worked with a renowned person on this project, you should try at least to even get a letter of recommendation from that person, But if you put that you worked with like 5, 6 people, it's all right if you can get only 3 from 3 people. You don't need everyone, because you only need 3 letters anyways. So that's the letter of recommendation part. Now, the second one is, what are the mistakes to avoid when applying? In my personal opinion, I would say lying. That's like one huge mistake. Saying you've done things when you haven't done them, or falsifying documents, or copying someone's SOP details. Like when you're copying someone's SOP, that's like one huge flag. Even if, the person is not, let's say you submit SOP, let's say I submit SOP to like University of Illinois, and then you just carry my SOP and copy it, and then you go and paste it in, Pennsylvania State University. That is something you shouldn't do at all. You shouldn't try it. I mean, it's okay to follow someone's storyline and framework. Like you follow, this person's storyline is like this, and this person talked about motivation here, talked about this project here. You can follow that framework and write your own SOP with that framework. But if you copy the person's SOP, that's a huge mistake. Now, when I talked about lying, now let me give you an example of what I call lying. Let's say you worked on this project, and the only thing you did is, let's say you worked on a project, and then you put that you worked on a project and you changed the bulb on that project, but you didn't change the bulb. That is lying. But if you changed the bulb on the project and then you wrote in a scientific term, let's say you changed bulb and then you wrote, working on this project, I was able to illuminate the environment with a tungsten emitter and stuff. I mean, that is still all right. That is all right. You are just, packaging the job that you did. You are packaging the word in a scientific manner. So that is not lying. But lying is you saying you changed the bulb, whereas you didn't do that. So that is something you should avoid entirely in your SOP. Now, what scores more between research experience and final degree? Degrade. Now, I'm going to tell you that application here, at least in the United States, is holistic. So most times they look at your application at once. They don't first start with, let's look at this person's research experience first. Then let's go and streamline people with this GRE. No, they look at your application and they look at everything at once. You might not have the highest GRE score. You might not even have the highest, you might not even have a paper from your previous research and all those things. But they look at everything and they look at you and what you've done, then, they give you admission. They don't compare you to any other students. They just look at your admission, your application in a holistic manner. They don't do it one after the other. So the next one is, are there schools that do not require English proficiency proof for students from English-speaking countries? Yes, that's right. Some schools do not require you, like some Commonwealth countries, for example, like Nigeria. Some schools might tell you that, they know that you are taught in English, so you don't need to take the IELTS or the TOEFL. Or some schools might tell you that, well, even though you don't need to take the standardized test, you can submit a letter that shows that, you were taught in English. And for example, I went to Unilag, you can get a letter from the record office that shows that you were taught in English. It's a common letter. So there are ways around these things. So definitely there are schools that require, and there are schools that will tell you that, well, it doesn't mean you still need to take these tests for us to be sure, So yeah, the next question is admission without GRE and English test. Yes, like I said before, a lot of schools are getting rid of the GRE because of the bias. There are a lot of studies that have shown that, the GRE is biased. So yeah, there are many schools that you can apply to without writing any of these tests. You just need to find the school and you need to explicitly see that, on the admissions website, they put it there that they don't need the GRE. If they don't put it there, or they say that they need GRE, then you need to write the GRE. If not, they are not going to consider your application. So is publication required for PhD admission? No, it's not required. You don't need to also have a master's to get a PhD. Like when I was in my undergrad, like from Unilag, when I was coming here, I didn't have any paper, even though I published a paper in Unilag, which was after I started my PhD here. But I didn't have any paper, and I just came from my BSc straight to my PhD. I didn't have any master's degree. So publications are not required for PhD admission. But if you have publications, oh yes, it helps your chances. It shows like the admission committee that, you understand the rudiments of research. You can carry out research because you've done that and you've written a paper. How do you get a mentor for scholarships? Yeah, this is great. You can, I feel like regardless of how smart you are or how hardworking you are, you still need people that have done it, that will show you the way and show you how to avoid pitfalls and, things like that. So you can email people, you can check out people on LinkedIn, reach out to them, look for friends that have done it. Those are ways that you can get mentors for scholarships. They should have, they should have experience about these kind of things. Regardless of age or anything, you can always reach out to people on LinkedIn, send emails to people, attend conferences, meet people, network. Those are the best ways to get mentors. Is there a special thing that I need to do different for applications to University of Michigan apart from normal requirements? No, there's nothing special. You just need to, you can browse the program. I'm going to give an example, like Chemical Engineering, University of Michigan. You can browse what they require on the program. I know that chemical engineering don't require GRE anymore. They don't care about GRE in University of Michigan. But they care about your statement of purpose. They care about, you writing a personal statement, writing, submitting your transcript, your letter of recommendations. Those are like the normal things that they want to see. Just browse the website of the program and you're going to find what you need to know. Can a 2-1 with publication start a PhD at UM without GRE? Oh yes, definitely. You don't necessarily need to have a first class before you start a PhD. Most times the PhD people care about, they think about research, so you don't need to have a first class. But if you are a 2-1, I don't even think you need to have a publication too. If you are a 2-1 and you have, a strong letter of recommendation, you have strong statement of purpose, you can definitely start a PhD. I know someone that finished with a 2-1 without publications that is in a PhD program, even though it's not in GOVM, but it's a PhD program in like Georgia Tech or something. That's a very great school too. So the last one is, how do you get referees even if you aren't too close to your lecturers? This is not so trivial because I know a lot of us when we were in undergrad, we were not really close to professors, but the highest thing you can do is to go and meet them in the office and talk to them and tell them that, oh, I took this class, and I took that, and I'm applying to this school, and I need a letter of recommendation. And the thing is, they probably might not know you that well to write a letter of recommendation for you, but you have to write something for yourself and show them, and they can fine tune it and submit that for you. If you did a project too, like you had a project advisor, that person can write a letter of recommendation for you. A course advisor can write a letter of recommendation for you. So those are the kind of people that you can meet. I know that it's it's 5:51 in Nigeria already. So I'm going to give room to people that want to ask questions from this chat. But in conclusion, like I've said before, you need to start preparing now. If you want to apply next year you need to start preparing now at the moment. You need to take everything into consideration, like the cost of application, the things you want to study, the school you are looking at, because different schools have different deadlines. Some schools might be December 1st, some schools might be December 21st, some schools might be November. So you have to start looking out for that, and you need to submit that on time. And if you need to apply to funding separately from the normal application, you need to start doing that right now, and also reach out to people that can give you insights, like mentors, like people that are in the schools already, like people that have done it before you. Just reach out to people, and also reach out to people that can help you proofread your statement of purpose. Because one red flag is you writing a statement of purpose with so many grammatical errors. I'm not sure that speaks well of you. So you need to reach out to people that can proofread, that can give you feedback on things like that. Thank you very much for joining in today. And if you have any question, I'm going to take the questions you have now. So.
Thank you so much, Bosun, for that elaborate and step-by-step explanation. I really enjoyed it, and I've also learned a lot to offer to my mentees as well. So yeah, it's been a very nice and excellent seminar. Thank you so much. So for now, I'll just stop here and give room to the audience to ask questions to Bosun so that he can try to answer them. And some of us can also make contributions as we progress. Please, if you have any question, you can put it in the chat, or you can raise your hand and then I can call you to ask your question. If you also have a contribution to make, that is welcome, please. Thank you.